Hello and good evening. Welcome to the Golden Broom podcast. I'm your host, Chris. My partner in crime tonight, Cody, had to take off. He says he's got laryngitis. It could be a byproduct of cheering so loud this weekend for his LSU Tigers, but we have to give him a pass tonight. I'm joined by the recent addition to the show, George, who is claiming once again to be the real Hog fan. I mean, are you really the real one, or is there another real one somewhere?
Hey, it's my Twitter handle. So at the Real Hog Fan, you can find me there and follow it. Find out
Hey,
for yourself.
all right, that's what we're talking about then. As long as you can back it up with facts and
That's
facts,
it.
yeah, that's what matters.
Mm-hmm.
So let's kick this thing off the right way. Our first topic for the night. Let's talk about the Tennessee LSU series.
Yeah.
What is your big takeaway from that series?
That LSU is on another level. Tennessee played well. They did not play enough to overcome LSU. Um, uh, to me, it seemed like Tennessee was always trying to play catch up. Yeah, in times even when Tennessee was leading, it was like they always expected to keep playing catch up. LSU just kept it on, kept the gas on, um, and I think LSU still has to figure out because I heard it all week. Well, how come they couldn't get the sweep? I mean, golly, they're that good. They can't. They got to just find a way to get a sweep, guys. You win 2 out of 3. It doesn't matter. Like you don't need to sweep to be dominant. And LSU, when they needed to be, were dominant enough to take the series.
And it's nice that you mentioned you're winning the series. You don't have to sweep somebody. If you put it into perspective, you're playing 10 SEC series
Mm-hmm.
for 3 games each. That's 30
Mm-hmm.
games. If you're taking 2 out of 3 in every single series, that's 20 wins. That's going to put you right at the top of the SEC. Uh,
Right.
every year.
Yep.
I mean, that's like clockwork. If you win
Yep.
2 out of 3 every single weekend, you're going to be at the top of the SEC.
Mm-hmm.
My takeaway is Paul Skeens is just on another. He's
Mm-hmm.
the best pitcher in the nation. I don't think it's even close.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, what I saw in that Thursday night game, his 95th pitch of the game
Mm-hmm.
was 99 and elevated for a strike.
Yeah.
That's just that's
Guy is unreal.
that's not human.
No. No. And they hyped it up. Dolander versus Skeens, and yeah, it was good. It was a good game, but it wasn't the best we've seen. Dolander struggled a few times, and to where you were like, I don't know if this is living up to the hype. Dolander had his moments, but Skeens was just way too overpowering. And that's kind of you know, I guess the statement of the year. Skeens
Yeah.
has just been too much. Except I'll put a little throw it out there. Except against Arkansas, for some reason that one game, Hunter Holland had himself a day and was going punch for punch with Skeens, and we were just able to capitalize just enough to get Skeens out of the comfort zone and get him off the mound. I mean, if you can just take advantage of the very rare mistakes that Paul Skeens make, that is the only way you beat LSU when Paul Skeens is on the mound.
Well, not to jump around a little any, but it seems like every year the number one pitcher always has that one game.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, um, look at Sproat the other night at Florida.
Yep.
Got lit up by Auburn. Nobody saw that coming.
No.
Every pitcher has that off game every year.
Mm-hmm.
So the Arkansas game, I don't know if I take very much from that other than yeah, he had an off game.
Yeah.
It happens. It happens to the best of them.
Well, he still had like 11 strikeouts. I mean, for that to be his bad game, I mean, Lord have mercy. I pity when he has a good one. Pity whoever we go against, and when he has 15 or 16 strikeouts. I mean, good Lord.
Right.
Um, and that's in his repertoire. I mean, that dude is just unreal. If he's not by the end of the year a top draft pick, I will shave my head.
Which one, Sprode or Skeens?
Both I
I,
think are going to be in
I
the conversation. But if Paul Skeens keeps being dominant as he is, I think I mean I just don't see how he would not be first round draft, if not top 10. I mean, dude is just ridiculous.
and let's not forget that Skeens was a transfer. He came from Air Force, where he was really, really good.
Yeah.
But I think getting him into that program at LSU,
Mm-hmm.
I agree. How much he's improved from last year is just
Mm-hmm.
night and day difference.
Agreed.
His control is so much better.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and we're gonna gonna go ahead and move on. I'm all tongue tied tonight. You all have to bear with me, and you may hear a little bit of background noise with me tonight. You see, I don't have a propeller over my head. I'm sitting outside, and you might hear my air conditioner kick on and off or not. I do apologize for that, and I will be exploring options to make my sound better if I'm going to be outside. But let's move on to another series. I think Arkansas was surprised in
Mm.
game one a little bit the way
Yeah.
Alabama came out and handled them.
Mm-hmm.
But there was something that went on in that series. I think it bears discussion. What about you?
Mm. Yeah, last year they did the same exact thing. Game one, come out, destroyed us. And yeah, there's a little bit of yeah. I would say there was an event that happened that the Hogs took notice of, put a little chip on their shoulder, and pulled out some very gutsy wins. Because man, that series was all about the bullpen, the second and third game, and I mean we had true freshmen in there that were getting some good outs. We had some guys that had experience, some transfers. I mean, there just anybody and everybody got a chance, and they did just enough, and that's what it takes.
So I believe it was the Saturday game
Yes, it was the
where
Saturday game.
there was an incident. Now, keep in mind, Brad Bohannon took over a very bad baseball program at
Yes.
Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
There was a lot of stuff going on there that he walked into that, he's had his hands tied a little bit.
Yeah.
But they come into this year, D1's got him ranked in the top 25.
Mm-hmm.
Other people around the SEC don't believe in him near as much as what D1 did.
Right.
And we get into SEC play, and here we go. The bottom starts falling out.
Yep.
And
As we
then
predicted it would.
and then Brad Bohannon does this.
Mm.
He didn't like a call,
Mm-hmm.
so he goes out and argues the call. And when he does, Arkansas fans do what they do. They got him.
Mm-hmm.
And in my opinion, for Brad Bohannon, this is a bad look. I'll let y'all decide. Take a look at what he did.
Yeah.
I mean, you're mocking the fans that are giving you grief.
Mm-hmm.
In my opinion, he's got to be better.
Mm. Yeah, the calls he was griping about. I mean, yeah, let's give him some merit. There were some bad calls, but I mean, you go over the top, get yourself ejected, and then do that. Yeah, it doesn't look very good at all.
Right.
And I said it when it happened. Whoop. He's going to regret that. And
Yes,
sure enough, and
it
it's funny
became a
because,
it became a national story, is what it did.
yep, it did. He definitely got some limelight that he was not anticipating on that. But what's awesome to see is Sunday, after it all went out or whatever. I was reading on a Razorback page or whatever, and one of the guys is like, "Yeah, I was sitting right behind him," and I said, "Coach, you can do it too. You can. We saw you do it yesterday. You can do it too." So he turned around and did the hog call with him as kind of like a peace offering. So that was after he already knew that he was beaten. The game was
Right.
already over. We had the series in the bag. He's like, "All right, I'll tuck my tail between my legs and I'll save face." But yeah, he paid for it. And I called it as soon as he did that. I was like, "Oh man, they are not going to let that go." And I guarantee Van Horn and the Hogs got together and go, "Okay, that's not happening again."
Right.
And it was shortly after that I believe it was Borfin or Jason Berger, Josen Berger, hit a 2-run homer to take the lead, and they never let up after that. So,
And and speaking of bad looks, we're going to let this lead us into one of our favorite awards, weekly awards here. We call it the Dirty Sock,
mm-hmm,
and this sock has gotten so dirty recently.
mm,
The team that has been awarded the Dirty Sock this year or this week started the season 7-1, had a massive series sweep over TCU that
mm-hmm,
opened the season with a great weekend. And they started the season 7-1.
right.
Since that time, they have gone 5-14.
Ugh.
They're currently sitting at 12-15 overall on a 9-game losing streak. And this weekend, they were not even remotely competitive with the Miami Hurricanes. And for that reason, the Florida State Seminoles, with
Mm-hmm.
brand new coach Link Jarrett, has been awarded the Dirty Sock Award for this week. Um, I don't know. I don't know what he's got to do. I thought Florida State, the way they started the season, was going to be much improved from last year, and they were pretty decent last year.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought they were going to be much improved, and I think Link Jarrett's got a job to do to
Yep.
somehow get that team playing good baseball again because
Yep.
they're hurting right now.
Absolutely. And it goes. Baseball is not only a game of inches, but it's a game of consistency, and they have none right now. And it's time for Link Jarrett to go back to basics, start from ground zero, and they're going to have to figure something out because you almost have to start from scratch with the way that they're playing ball right now. They don't even look like the same team they were at the beginning of the year. They look discombobulated. I know it's
Yeah.
a big word,
Hey, I
but
love the word. I love it. Yeah.
but I mean they look lost on the field. I don't know how many errors they have, but I would think in a 9-game skid you got some errors, and that just goes without saying. You're
It's
not
not,
playing your best ball.
and then again, it goes to the saying that it's not how you start the season; it's how you finish the season.
Yep,
Because it's a marathon rather than a sprint. They
correct.
sprinted it out. They sprinted out of the gate very well, and
Mm-hmm.
they've kind of run out of gas. It looks like,
Mm-hmm.
but one series they did take this year
Mm.
was against a mid major,
Mm-hmm.
and I love some mid majors.
Oh yeah.
And one of the series they took this year was Florida Gulf Coast.
Wow.
Florida Gulf Coast is currently ranked in the top 25.
Yeah.
And It's a solid mid-major program that's been
Mm-hmm.
fringe for a couple years now of doing something really exciting.
Mm-hmm.
This could be the year. And while we're on the topic of mid-majors,
Mm-hmm.
let's take a look at the 11.7 does a mid-major top 25.
Yeah.
And I respect that. I'm just going to say it. I respect the hell out of it because, you got to give these guys some love. Without the
Right.
mid-majors, who are the Power Fives going to play and
Mm-hmm.
keep it competitive? So let's
Right.
take a look at what 11.7 has. They've actually got the Campbell Camels number one in their mid-major poll this week.
Mm-hmm.
We all know who Campbell is. They
Mm-hmm.
gave Tennessee fits in the regional last year. Very solid fundamentally. Very good baseball program.
Yeah.
And you just love to see stuff like that.
Yeah, they got a lot of experience in that lineup, so it makes sense that they're doing so well.
Another mid major. We can't talk about mid majors without mentioning Coastal Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
Went undefeated again last week.
Mm-hmm.
You remember they won the 2016 College World Series. Came
Yep.
out of nowhere and won that thing.
Yep.
So when you talk mid majors, you realize some of these programs can and do sometimes win the College World Series.
Right.
So,
and they've had some success. I mean, you talk about Coastal Carolina winning the World Series, like you said, nobody saw it coming, and there was some stiff competition that year out of the SEC. I believe Florida was doing really good that year.
yep.
I mean, there was some real stiff competition, and Coastal went blow for blow, and they looked really, really good. So you take a team like that, you win the College World Series, you build off of that. You may not do it every year, but at least you have that kind of momentum moving into, maybe a couple seasons or whatever moving forward. You can always say, hey, come to Coastal. You can't go anywhere else. Come to Coastal. We won a World Series back in 2016. Right? There's not a lot of people that can say that.
Right. And two other programs that captured everybody's attention last year were Columbia and UConn. They
Mm-hmm.
actually played each other today.
Mm.
And if I remember correctly, the score, Columbia defeated Connecticut 19-14 today. Connecticut is ranked number 19 in the top 25.
Mm.
I wasn't sold that they'd be that good this year because they had a
Mm-hmm.
lot of seniors last year
Mm-hmm.
that led that team to the super regional against Stanford.
Mm-hmm.
Columbia getting to the region final last year against Virginia Tech. That's another solid program. They actually went in and gave Alabama their first loss this year.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Hey, all love to mid majors, man. They are doing some things that nobody expected, and will continue to do so. I don't think we're done seeing the surprise out of that group there at all.
there's another mid major that might capture some attention this week. We have Old Dominion,
Mm.
and I'm trying to find. Let me find them real quick. They have a nice little win streak going.
Mm.
That is, well, they had a. Wait a minute, Cody.
Huh. Huh.
I think Cody gave me some bad information. He said they were on a win streak and had earned a Golden Broom,
Mm. Hot
but
streak.
I'm not seeing it.
Mm.
I really don't see it. I'm not sure. They're 22-6.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. I don't
I
have it
think
either.
he may have been mistaken on Old Dominion.
Give him a break. Dude's delusional with his laryngitis.
It's starving his oxygen.
Yeah, there you go.
But while we're on that, let's go ahead and talk about this week's Golden Broom,
Mm-hmm.
since it's not, since there is no heat streak to give out.
Mm.
Let's talk about our Golden Broom winner this week.
Yeah, let's do it.
Pull it up here and show it to everybody.
I know who it's not because you did not want to jinx them, so we'll not say who it is. It's not Vandy, so if anybody wants to know.
Well, it's not so much a jinx, but
No.
I'm realistic enough to know that Vanderbilt should be beating Georgia.
Yeah.
But this team, they swept somebody that at the start of the SEC season was the darlings that were playing some really good baseball. And we're giving the Golden Broom this week to Kentucky.
Yeah. And rightfully so. I mean, they made Missouri look like a high school team.
Right. Missouri wasn't even competitive. And it's like, is that the same team that swept Tennessee and was 3-0 in the SEC?
Right.
They went on the road to South Carolina. I can understand them losing that series and getting swept there.
Yeah.
But getting swept by Kentucky and not even being competitive?
Yeah.
So either Kentucky's really that good or Missouri is that bad. And they just, Tennessee might have been their Super Bowl. I'm not sure about that.
Yeah.
And while we're getting ready for our next topic, let's go ahead and get a word from our sponsor tonight. We're going with SeatGeek this week.
All right, so I'm a baseball guy, and my goal is to actually see a game in every Major League Baseball stadium. Now, I'm more than a third of the way there, and I never buy from the team's websites. SeatGeek is my first stop whenever I'm heading to a new city for a ball game. Now, obviously, they've got some other sports, as well as concert tickets, Broadway, comedy, I mean, you name it. And now, for VSN listeners, they're actually offering you $20 off your first ticket purchase. So just use the code VSN, that stands for Variety Sports Network. So that's VSN to save $20. So put that to use for some food or for some drinks at whatever event you are wanting to attend. Again, that code is VSN to save $20 on your first SeatGeek purchase.
Awesome. And before we move on, I pulled this up. One incredible stat to me about Kentucky. They're 8-1 in conference. They're sitting at 25-3 overall, right? They're 8-2 on the road. 8-2 on the road. No other team even comes close except South Carolina at 7-3. But 8-2, and they're 17-1 at home. Like, that's ridiculous numbers.
Yeah. Very ridiculous.
If you go on the road and can take some series on the road and play that kind of baseball, that is something. So, hats off to Kentucky, man. They are rolling. They continue. They are going to be a force to reckon with at the end of the season for sure.
Oh, most definitely. So we strive to cover all of college baseball. The last few weeks, we've kind of gotten sidetracked, focusing on the SEC. But we're not the only conference that plays baseball.
No.
I want to take a look out west.
Yeah, let's look
real quick. Let's take a look at the Pac-12 and see where we're standing. You got Stanford ranked in some polls have them at number 7, some have them at number 8. They're currently tied for first with Arizona State
playing
in the Pac-12. You also got and then you got Southern Cal in there at 9-3 with the most wins in the Pac-12. But they got them half a game behind because they have lost one more than the other two. Washington's very solid, playing competitive baseball, sitting at 5-4. about mid-pack. Oregon State is a surprise to me. I thought they were going to be really good,
Mm-hmm.
and they've hit conference play, and they're struggling. They're 5-7. Arizona's struggling at 3-9.
Mm-hmm.
I thought they were going to be really good the way they started the season.
Mm-hmm.
But give me your thoughts about the Pac-12 real quick.
Yeah, I mean, personally, Stanford is a heck of a baseball team. Last year, they gave us a run for the money at the Texas Classic, or I can't remember what it was called. The Red Rock Classic, I think, is what it was. It was cold, which was weird. They had ice, like I think the day before, and it was in the 30s. And Stanford put it on Arkansas, and they have. I don't think they lost very many guys from last year, and seems like they're just picking up where they left off. Um, and I mean, they're playing some really strong baseball. And Oregon State, I thought so as well. I thought they would be a lot better, just based off of how they started. But I don't know if it's necessarily that their conference opponents are doing so good, or they're doing so bad. It's kind of too early to tell at this point, but we're hitting stride down at the end, but Oregon State just does not look complete like they did, especially when they went to the College World Series against Arkansas. They had a complete baseball team. They don't look like they have all the pieces they need to get past that, past the hump. And Stanford does. Stanford looks like they are a complete baseball team.
And with Oregon State, their record is what it is in the Pac-12.
Mm-hmm.
But they started the season off losing 2 out of 3 to Washington State, and then getting swept by Stanford. Getting swept by Stanford, I don't think is that big of a deal.
No.
But Washington knocks off UCLA last week, and then turns around and Oregon State got them 2 out of 3 this week.
Yeah.
So you want to think that Oregon State's moving in the right direction. They've got 2 series wins in a row.
Mm-hmm.
Another big series coming up this weekend with at Oregon.
Mm-hmm.
So that'll be a huge series. And, we may start seeing some separation over there in the Pac-12.
Yeah.
So, and while we're looking around, let's go ahead and take a look at the Big Ten.
Yeah.
Because they had a big matchup this weekend with Maryland and Iowa.
Mm-hmm.
Iowa sitting at 20-6.
Yeah.
Has struggled a little bit at 17-10.
Mm-hmm.
Maryland was ranked in the top 15 starting the season, but they really struggled. But that's a huge series win for Maryland to get Iowa like that.
Yeah, that was surprising too, because Iowa's hitting their strides. Iowa's pitching staff was just ridiculous. I mean, it was just magic to see them how they operated. But then it just kind of fell apart against Maryland. I don't know what happened.
Didn't I see that Brody Brecht hit 104 this weekend?
Mm-hmm.
Jeez, Ben Joyce Jr.
Yeah, I mean, you don't see that very often. I don't care if it's 10, 20, 30 years. That's the type of stuff that you don't see very often at all. Come out of any state, let alone Iowa. 104 mile an hour pitch. I mean, that'll get some eyebrows raised in the MLB.
And another team that started off the season pretty bad was Nebraska.
Mm-hmm.
They're sitting in 5th place in the Big Ten.
Mm-hmm.
Minnesota's in 6th. Both of them sitting at 2-1. Won their opening series this weekend.
Yeah.
Minnesota overall though 7-20.
Mm-hmm.
Nebraska seems to be trending in the right direction. They're 15-9.
Yep.
The surprising team to me is Indiana. They're typically very competitive. But 5-1, sitting at 20-9. Do they have the goods to get to finish out the season in the Big Ten and win that thing?
Yeah, I mean, Nebraska's going to give them a run for the money. I think they are hitting their stride at the right point, but they got a lot of experience on their team. There's a lot of guys that are hungry after that regional loss to Arkansas, but yeah, Indiana's very surprising. Indiana, I don't think anybody saw any kind of life, signs of life from that team earlier this year. But they're coming on pretty daggum strong. So
And while we're looking around the country, swing on over to the Big 12. You got your defending College World Series runner-up, sitting down there second to last at 2-4 in the Big 12.
Yeah,
trudging along at 500 on the season at 15-14. The one that got me this weekend was Texas Tech. Ranked team sitting at they're 20-9 now, losing the series to Texas. I don't think anybody saw that one coming. Texas seems to be hitting their stride too at 21-9, 4-2 in the conference. But the surprising team for me has got to be West Virginia.
Yep.
I'm not sure I expected them to be up in there.
No, I expected them to be way lower in that division than they are. To be sitting at number 2 behind Oklahoma State is just that's remarkable for their program. And one game behind Oklahoma State, 21-7. Oklahoma State's 22-7. I wouldn't even have picked them to get anywhere close to 20 games. They proved me wrong, and I'm all right with that.
Right. And last but not least of the power conferences, let's take a look at the ACC real quick.
Yeah.
Of course, sitting at number 2 in the country, I don't think there's any question about that.
No.
You got Wake Forest at 10-2 in the conference, 26-4 overall.
That's ridiculous.
The surprise in the Atlantic Division has got to be Boston College. I think, if I'm not mistaken, I read somewhere they won 5 ACC games last year. They're sitting at 8-4 in second place in the division.
Yeah.
And 21-6 overall. And then you got, you expected Notre Dame to fall off.
Yep.
I don't think that's any shock that they have. But over in the Coastal Division, another team that started out highly ranked, Virginia Tech, sitting at the bottom of the Coastal Division.
Yeah, this one's a crazy one because you got Boston College and Louisville tied up at 21-6. Who would have thought that?
Yeah.
And then NC State. I mean, they're kind of sitting in the middle of the pack, but yeah, Virginia Tech at the bottom. I mean, what happened? Now they're 17-10 and 4-8 in the conference. I mean, like, daggum. I would have
fallen off the map there.
Yeah, the wheels fell off. They fell off a cliff. The wagon fell apart. I mean, whatever you want to say. But they're in a pretty bad slump. And then, of course, we already talked about Florida State. Florida State is in dire straits. But Virginia Tech sitting at the bottom, they got to pull something, a rabbit out of their hat as well.
Oh, definitely. So, kind of touch on all the Power 5 conferences, Power 6, whatever you want to call them. So we'll take a look ahead at this coming week and some games that you think might be of note.
Okay.
Or some big series this weekend.
Yeah. You go first. I got to look mine up.
So I'm gonna jump right off in there.
Let's hear it.
Number 3 Florida at number 11 Tennessee.
Oh, absolutely. Sproat will be tested.
I think so too.
because I refuse to, and I'm going to go ahead and do this. Randy, if you're listening, you can go ahead and pat me on the back because I refuse to believe that Tennessee is going to keep losing series. I refuse it. So I think they're going to come out with a chip on their shoulder, and I think they're going to give Florida all they can give them. And I'm just going to say it. I think they take the series. I do.
Being in Knoxville, I think Dolander gets right this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
I think Burns gets right this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And Beam has given up some runs here lately, but I think he gets. I would not be surprised if Tennessee. Well, I picked them to win the series last weekend against LSU. I'll pick them to win the series against Florida. I think they're a better ball team.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sold on Florida yet.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons I'm not,
Mm-hmm.
they opened SEC play with Ole Miss.
Mm-hmm.
Vanderbilt played Ole Miss as well.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Vanderbilt outscored Ole Miss by 27 runs.
Mm-hmm.
Florida outscored them by 10 runs.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not sold that Florida is as good as what they're advertised.
No.
So I'm taking Tennessee to win that series. Another one that pops off the screen at me is number 20, Miami, fresh off a sweep in Florida State,
Mm-hmm.
traveling to Charlottesburg to take on Virginia.
Yeah, that'll be that. Yeah, I mean, you just came off a sweep. You think you're going to come out swinging, but Virginia's not going to let you get ahead quick. They're going to give you all you can get, all you can handle, and we'll see if Miami still has the momentum. Because if they can take that momentum that they just took over Florida State, I mean, they could go in and win another series, maybe in another sweep. But depends on how Virginia comes out and plays. So it just depends. But yeah, my phone is not working.
Phone's not working?
No, it's not. So I have to use my laptop here, which I hate doing because it looks like I'm looking off into space. But yeah,
I got so many windows open on my laptop right now.
Let me pull it up for real quick here. What was your surprise matchup this week that you didn't expect to be such a good matchup? Put you on the spot.
Boston College and Louisville.
Mm-hmm.
Boston College at number 9, Louisville at 18.
Yeah.
I thought Louisville would be top 10 and Boston College would be trudging along the bottom of the ACC.
Man. Yeah. I agree. I mean, that was a heck of a interesting matchup, and nobody saw it being as competitive as it was. So that was good.
And another series. I know we're going at ACC and SEC heavy right now.
Yeah,
but that's where a lot of the ranked matchups are this week.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I think we get to find out, what does LSU do playing on the road against quality opposition?
Yep.
And on the flip side of that, how good is South Carolina? Are they for real? Can they come out and challenge LSU?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I don't know how that's even going to work, but yeah, it's going to be different. They're going to have their hands full. And is, like you said, is South Carolina for real? That's kind of the biggest thing. We see their record, but they haven't played LSU. They haven't played somebody that's just remarkable in the pitching staff. I don't think. I mean, they have, but we'll see if they can really match up against LSU. And we're going to see it in the first two games, because the third game, we all know, we've seen LSU
Give up some runs. Right.
give up some runs. So I expect the same thing to happen. It depends on if LSU comes out and they're able to capitalize off of South Carolina. If it gets ugly quick and they're having to go through 3 or 4 pitchers, I mean, LSU could sweep them easy. Because LSU just does not have. Everybody says they have a deep pitching staff, but I've yet to see it yet. That's the problem.
Right.
We see some life in the bullpen, but yet they give up runs. And but South Carolina is the same way. And if LSU, if Dylan Cruz just demolishes their pitching staff single-handedly, I mean, LSU could go in there and sweep them.
That wouldn't surprise me at all. It wouldn't surprise me if LSU just wins the series 2-1.
Mm-hmm.
I think LSU is the much better team, and we'll find out. We'll find out for sure if South Carolina's for real.
Yeah.
But look at, I'm a Vanderbilt fan. I'm looking at Missouri. If memory serves me correct, since Missouri has joined the SEC, I think they've beaten Vanderbilt in baseball twice.
Right.
I think. I remember the first one. That was a gut wrencher where they beat us.
Right.
But if memory, it's either 1 or 2 times that they've beaten us in history.
Yeah.
So, if you're Vanderbilt, you look at this series as an opportunity. You go do what you do against Missouri.
Yep.
You sweep them, you're at 12-0.
Yep.
You got Florida, South Carolina with immense challenges this week. You've got an opportunity to open up a nice little lead in the SEC.
Yeah.
Especially in the Eastern Division. Before you start getting to the Arkansas, the Tennessee, the Florida,
right,
that type of competition. So if you're at 12 wins, your 4th series into the season in the SEC, you could just about bank that you're going to be in the postseason. Because all you got to do to make the NCAA tournament in the SEC, if you get 15 wins, you're in.
Yeah.
I mean,
right.
That's the magic mark. So if you're at 12, 4 series in, over the next series, you only got to win 3 games to get in the NCAA tournament.
Yep.
You don't want to go in like that, but
no. Right.
That's where you're at.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we're going to see the separation of the men and the boys here pretty soon. This is when the best and the worst baseball is played, is at the end of the season. That's what I always see. Either the wheels fall off or you start seeing some juggernauts come out. And I mean, I hate to say this, I really do, but I think because Ole Miss has been playing not the best, the problem is it's such a trap series for Arkansas. It really is. And Mike Bianco, for some reason, always has something dialed up to make it interesting. And I really think Ole Miss is going to give us problems. And I'm not going to say they're going to win the series, but it's going to be a much better matchup than people think it's going to be. Because Ole Miss has had their issues all year. But I think that's going to be one of those that's like, what, how is this happening? Kind of like the Alabama going hit for hit. I mean, there was a few times I thought, crap, we're going to lose this series. And we didn't, thank God. But you know, I think it's going to be Ole Miss is going to go blow to blow, and because I just can't see that a guy that's such a great coach in Mike Bianco is going to keep his team where they are. Like I refuse to see that. I mean, he's too good a head coach. He's got too much talent on that team. He's going to figure something out, and somebody is going to be the recipient of a butt whooping as soon as they figure it out.
Right.
I'm hoping it's not going to be this weekend, but I see that series going, maybe in some extra innings in a game. You never know, going down to hotty toddy land, what's going to happen. So,
Right.
But yeah,
and not to leave mid majors out,
Mm-mm.
we got a couple good ones this weekend. How about UC Santa Barbara, a team that's been ranked the last few years, at Cal State Fullerton?
Yeah, and Cal State Fullerton's been playing some phenomenal baseball, but they're going to have their hands full.
Yep, Santa Barbara 7-1 in the Big West. Fullerton is sitting at 7-2 in the Big West. That series will go a long way to determining who wins a Big West Conference.
Right. Yep. I agree with that.
Yeah. And just scanning through here, looking around.
Yeah.
Of course, we mentioned Oregon State at Oregon.
Yeah, that's always a good matchup because somehow, even if Oregon's been playing horribly, they'll come out and play Oregon State good.
Right.
In every sport,
that's always a good series.
It doesn't matter what sport they play either. It's always whoever's having an up or down year. That's always a good game. So yeah, I think that's going to be a good series.
So Georgia Southern. If I'm not mistaken, didn't they host a regional last year, or was that Georgia State? I think it was Georgia Southern.
It might have been Georgia Southern, yeah. I don't have it right in front of me. I think you're right. I don't think it's.
It was Georgia Southern.
Yeah.
They've got a big one this weekend.
Yeah.
With Coastal Carolina.
Yeah, that's Coastal's playing some phenomenal baseball, but Georgia Southern they consider themselves to be a powerhouse. They consider themselves to be a top team in the country. And at times they play like one.
Right.
It depends on if they can go as deep as Coastal Carolina, because Coastal Carolina has a lot of really good experience in that bullpen. So we'll see. But I think you're right. I think that'll be a good test for sure.
Okay. And we've scanned around. We've looked at some good matchups, tried to get some mid-majors in there. And then, we've mentioned 11.7 earlier, that they do their mid-major top 25. I want to give a shout-out to our guy, Randy Jowers. He's joined us a few times on our show. He does host a podcast himself with Mr. Jim Cross, and Daniel Baugh, and the name of that podcast is In Off the Bench. And if you've not listened to them guys, do so. They put out some fabulous material. They part of their the big story with them. They interview players, active players in college baseball. And we shout out other podcasts for the sole reason of we're trying to grow the game of college baseball.
Yep.
And speaking of grow the game of college baseball, we're all on Twitter. And a few years ago, Virginia had a pitcher, Steven Scose, that has become a huge presence on Twitter. following the game of college baseball. He announced his first ACC game this past week.
Mm-hmm.
And he dropped a product line this week, and he's got some caps. And one of the caps says, "Grow the game."
Nice. Love it.
So we're all in this to do that.
Yeah.
You know, this sport is underserved.
Yeah.
And the more we can grow it as fans
Mm-hmm.
and people doing shows like this,
Mm-hmm.
the better chance we have in the long run of getting college baseball some money where they can give more than 11.7 scholarships.
Yep.
That's got to be fixed at some point, and the only way to fix it is to grow the game and force it to be fixed.
Absolutely.
So,
and
you got any parting thoughts tonight?
Yeah, I'll just piggyback what you said. I mean, college baseball to me is, some people would say, "Oh, that's blasphemy," but college baseball to me is more fun to watch than major leagues. Sorry.
Oh, I agree.
Do
Do you know how long it's been since I've watched a complete Major League Baseball game?
How long? I bet you I got you beat.
Probably not.
Okay.
1992.
Okay, no,
in
I
the
don't have
strike-shortened season. I've not watched a full Major League game since then.
The last time I watched a full major league game is when Boston won the World Series. That's the last time that I watched.
It's been a few years.
That's a few years. Yeah, I fall asleep.
Yeah,
I mean, it's just you get to the point where you're so good that it becomes boring. And in college baseball, you get to see guys grow. You get to see guys hit their stride. I mean, of course, I'm really partial to Arkansas, as you can tell. But I mean, Kevin Kopps. I mean, dude came out of nowhere.
What a story! What a
came
story
out of
that
nowhere.
guy is.
I mean, and I will say this: I remember watching him, going, "Man, get the hook! This guy's awful." Like there a couple years before, I mean, like, man, he just needs some help. Something he is, and then out of nowhere, he comes in as dominant as he is. So it's fun to watch guys develop. It's fun to watch the competition play out. And yeah, I agree.
And there's camaraderie in college baseball.
Mm-hmm.
A team might be your rival, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm falling back to 2016. Vanderbilt's hosting a regional.
Mm-hmm.
We have this star freshman pitcher.
Yeah.
That his first pitch he ever threw in Hoover was 100 miles an hour.
Yeah, my Lord.
And 2 weeks after throwing that pitch, he dies.
Mm-hmm.
He drowned in an accident.
Mm-hmm.
And you see a guy like Kramer Robertson at LSU write DE 41 on the bill of his cap.
Mm-hmm.
And it started a national trend where every team in America was doing something with DE 41.
Right.
There's camaraderie in the sport. You get to see guys like Ben Joyce, who's had surgery,
yeah,
come back from that surgery throwing 103. It's crazy. Some of the stories of these athletes, and that's why I bring up in Off the Bench, is because they show these athletes in their true colors, and you get to learn their stories.
Yeah. Well, Vanderbilt, for instance, didn't you guys have a 16-year-old pitcher at one point?
He wasn't 16. He was
17.
He was
18. Okay. Barely turned 18.
Yeah, he was 18. He should have been playing high school baseball.
Mm-hmm.
And he was starting a game at the College World Series.
Right. I don't remember his name, but yeah, I remember.
I remember his name, and I hope we see him in Hoover this year.
Yeah.
Because I think there's going to be some fireworks.
Mm-hmm.
He currently pitches for the number 1 team in the country.
Mm-hmm.
And he did some chatter before the season. This is the deepest pitching staff I've ever been on. But
See,
yeah,
I saw that, but I didn't realize that was him. So
But
he
yeah,
went to LSU, really?
but
Oh
yet
my
last
goodness.
year he was relegated to one of the last guys out of the pen,
Right.
passed up by freshmen
Mm-hmm.
because he wasn't consistent.
Mm-hmm.
He's showing flashes of being great. Even at Vanderbilt, he showed flashes. He's showing flashes this year at LSU, but the consistency just isn't there. And when that light bulb goes off, that young man has got some incredible stuff in his arsenal. So,
yeah,
I hope we see that young man in Hoover.
It'll be interesting to see because I mean he hasn't played at all this year, has he?
He's been getting in some midweek games, a couple relief spots in the weekend, but it's wild.
But he hasn't played an SEC game, has he?
I don't know if he has or not.
Yeah, I didn't think so because I was wondering where he went, and for some reason I don't know why I had it in my head. I thought he had already been drafted, and apparently I missed it that he went to LSU. So.
Yeah, that was the big transfer portal loss for Vanderbilt last year's. Christian Little went to LSU.
Christian Little. That's who that is. Yeah.
And you ought to know him. He's from the St. Louis area, I believe.
Yeah, I do. I just didn't follow where he went, and somehow I missed it. So, yeah, that's. I remember seeing him in the World Series, and I remember meeting him on at the in Hoover. So, kid's tough. I fail to understand how he is so deep on the staff of LSU. I mean, some of the pitchers they got in before him, I'm like, that doesn't make any sense.
It's just consistency.
Yeah.
And if he can ever learn how to slow down one of the problems that's been noticed with him, he gets a base runner on.
Yeah.
And that heart rate gets elevated. And of course, when your heart rate gets elevated, you make mistakes.
Yeah, sure.
So if he can ever learn how to regulate that and keep it level, this, like I said, the kid's got incredible stuff. If he can learn how to manage the adrenaline flow. So, it is what it is.
Yeah.
I just want to see him in Hoover.
Oh yeah. I mean, man, Hoover's gonna be lit.
And I made a statement early in the year that Alabama and Missouri would be the two teams that were left behind. Don't go to Hoover.
I don't think that's a solid statement anymore.
not after what we've seen.
No.
I may have to adjust that line of thinking.
Yep.
So
it'll be very surprising who gets left out, I think.
Exactly.
Because I mean, here we are. We have how long? June what? When's Hoover? June what?
Last week in May, isn't it?
Or yeah, it's the last week of May. That's right. And we're fast approaching it.
It's last week of May because on Memorial Day weekend, isn't Sunday the SEC championship? Ooh. And then on Monday they announced the tournament.
Yep. And then it's that next week it starts, right?
And then the next week starts regions.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. So that's wow.
Coming up quick.
I can't believe it's already here. It seems like we blinked and 3/4 of the season is gone.
Well, if you look at it after this weekend, well, we're already a third of the way through the season.
Yeah. Yeah.
In SEC play, we've already played 3 series.
Yep.
And you only play 10.
That's true. Yeah. You're a third of the way through the SEC. Yeah.
So, it's going to be fun.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully Cody can relax them vocals this week and not cheer so loud. He was pretty vocal last week, chirping at Randy.
I kept my mouth shut. I wasn't getting involved in that.
What I saw, I thought Tennessee could score enough runs on Saturday and Sunday that they could take the series. Obviously, on Saturday they didn't,
Mm-hmm.
but they were competitive the entire weekend.
Yeah, they were.
But I have daughters that are both LSU fans,
Mm.
and while I'm, I predicted Tennessee to win. Me and my daughters are chatting the whole series.
Mm.
I was happy.
Yeah, it's good.
So, all right. Well, I don't have anything else. If you don't have anything else, we'll wrap this thing up.
Nope. I think we covered everything. We kind of sped through it, I feel, but we're right on the money on the dot. So,
yeah,
it works.
All right. Well, we'll end this thing up real quick, and we'll see you next week.